It's incredibly difficult to live in America for so many people, mostly because it's just a sad country at this point. It's a lonely country. I hear it from people all the time. We just don't have bonds. We don't have friendships. I can't tell you how many elderly people I talk to every day who just want to talk because they have no one else to talk to. They don't have any kind of companionship because it's just common now for people to grow old alone. But that's what life is in America. It's an act of loneliness. It's an involuntary vow of solitude. And I think it's one of the biggest shames because it doesn't have to be that way. People here are no different than they are anybody else, but for some reason we just don't want to talk to each other. We don't want to be friends with each other. We don't want to go do anything. It's expensive, sure. But for those of us who grew up poor, and I mean really poor, we never had money to spend to go do things, but we were doing things all the time. One of the things I'm very grateful about when it comes to my parents, one of the few things is that they were able to show us magic in life, even though we didn't have anything. Whether that's going to a park, going into the woods. Usually it revolved around nature because nature's free. For now, because these days we have to make everything a commodity. We have to monetize everything. There's no real escape from something attacking your wallet. And that's one of the reasons why people do seek out isolation and solitude, because being alone in the United States is one of the only ways to be free. To be by yourself, to lock yourself in your house where no one's trying to tax you. Whether that's an actual tax or whether it's just the daily expenses that you have when you're out and about. There's many people who find themselves not being able to leave the house without spending $100, without $200. And I never really understood that because I'm a frugal person by nature, but I know that a lot of people do have that problem. And the thing is, people don't have the money to spend, to act like that either. And kind of retail therapy is something that's always befuddled me. I've never really understood it. But I understand escapism, and I know that people have very different ways of escaping from the things that they have to deal with every day, and we all do. Some of us, it's going to the gym and lifting weights. Some of us, it's going for a run. Some of us, it's playing video games. Some of us, it's sitting back and smoking and some people, it's drinking. But there's an infinite amount of ways that people try to escape the loneliness in America, but the loneliness does persist. And because we don't have bonds in this country anymore, because more and more people are finding themselves in lives without a relationship, lives without a partner. The vast majority of us go to bed alone every night, not knowing the fulfillment of a nice, healthy partnership. And, what is that in America now? This is not taught. Most people now are raised never seeing a healthy relationship, so how can they possibly be in one? We emulate the relationships that we grow up with. And if your parents are toxic, if your parents were addicts or alcoholics, you have to fight your nature itself because it's been indoctrinated in you to replicate that same toxic behavior, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be replicated. Just a personal anecdote here. I grew up with addiction. My parents, myself at one point, and it almost killed me many times, a long time ago. But it's a battle that never really goes away. And I think anyone who's actually faced addiction understands that it's a behavior that sets deep inside who you are. And it never really goes away. And I think it's the exact same with trauma. The traumas that we have growing up, the traumas that we accumulate over our lifetimes, they stick with us. It's our baggage. And we have ways of coping with them, or we have ways of compartmentalizing and stowing them away, pushing them further and further down until one day in life it just becomes a problem. It boils over. And it's a hard place to be. It's a hard place to be when you're fighting yourself. And there's little things to actually have your back when it comes to self-correction. Life is a very complicated thing, but it's incredibly simple. But in this modern day and age, it's more and more complicated. And the simplicity is lost in the mosaic of constant mental noise that we have every day, whether that's work, whether it's friendships, whether it's advertisements, whether it's media, whether it's the news, whether it's the constant chaos that happens in our country. We're surrounded by noise, but at the same time, it's silent in our lives. It's uncomfortable. And I know I've talked to many people who feel the same way. The constant noise drives you to hide yourself from the world and to make yourself alone, to live a lonely life. Between the noise, between expenses, between everything, it's easier to be that way because that's how our country is. There's no family nights anymore, really. There's nothing that actually venerates and celebrates the family. There's no coming of age rituals in our country. That's why one of the reasons I say that the modern age is just, it's an age that's devoid of any kind of true, real human culture that kind of connects us to who we are, that kind of connects us to our past, to who we are now, to our community. You just go to school, get a job, and then shuffle off into the world and sever any connection from where you're from and just move off by yourself into a sea of lonely people and try to find connection in a place where connection cannot thrive. It's a bizarre thing. And as you get older, what you realize, especially in America, because when we go out, usually it revolves around drinking, is that none of the friends you actually have, once you sober up and you stop drinking, you get a little bit older, you have your party phase. Usually once everyone sobers up, they go in different directions and become lonely people again. Because barstool friends are not real friends. Barstool friends usually don't show up and go fishing in the morning, even though they promised to. Barstool friends don't come over, put Christmas lights up in wintertime. They don't do that. If you have any real friends, any people that you consider real friends in your life, and you get to see them on an actual daily basis or every few days, cherish those things because you understand as you get older how rare that is. And in this country, it's increasingly more and more common for that to be abnormal. Loneliness is the norm here. Consume, shop, scroll, shop some more, consume, work, sleep, and then continue the cycle the next day. But I say live. In the end, that's what it comes down to. It's a personal choice. And I always say this, no matter where you are at in the world, whether it's in America and you hate being in America and you want to go somewhere else, if you want to go somewhere else and think that it's going to be completely different, you're absolutely wrong. Me personally, I think that life abroad is much more enjoyable, but that's my personal preference. And it can be cripplingly lonely if you're the kind of person who can't go into a place and meet people. Even though it's often more friendly, I find. Everywhere still has their problems. And as an American, you have a lot of baggage coming with you. So I don't think that is necessarily the answer for everyone, but yeah, it's an answer. Like anything else is. It's an alternative to this. But I say that, personally, this just isn't really good for anybody anymore. I think there's a great virtue to having a community, even if your community is just a few people, right? Even if it's just your little tribe. Once you have your tribe, people who will have your back, people who will come over and help you if you need help, whether they're actually family or whether they're friends, or whether they're even strangers that you just met, but end up being close acquaintances and then the next thing you know, friends. I think in America, we're just not as receptive to that as maybe we used to be. But I think that's important that we do become more receptive to that. The system in America teaches us to be lonely, that lonely is normal. So we have to fight that kind of assimilation to normalcy and actually search out being the oddity, being the person who meets people, being the person who goes out and actually strikes up conversations with people, being the person who actually makes the events to which people actually want to go to. Be the beacon to which people can flock to. It's a scary thing. And yes, life can be expensive, but hey, it's not expensive to go hiking, right? It's not expensive to go fishing. You don't need crazy gear. I once saw my cousin catch a 20-pound catfish with a Barbie rod. You don't need much, but it doesn't have to be this way is what I'm saying. We have a lot of serious talk on this channel, and I guess this is kind of serious, but at the same time, it's about lifting yourself up at the end of the day. It's about valuing yourself and realizing that you deserve friendship. You deserve companionship. You deserve happiness. In this day and age, it's incredibly easy for us to fall into a kind of apathy and melancholy and find ourselves counting down the days until we just don't have to worry about it anymore. But you can choose another path. You can go another direction. It just takes sacrifice and takes bravery. But I think if you can be brave for 5 or 10 seconds, hey, you can accomplish more than 99% of people. I think we all have a coward inside of us, and we all have like a warrior inside of us. And it's really whatever one you let win most of the time is going to be the person that you are. But we have that duality to us. There's no one person, maybe a few, that just can go out there and be that kind of extrovert, that kind of confidence, where they can just go and not look like an idiot. They can be smooth and suave, right? There's a few people like that. I'm not like that. I'm a buffoon. I'm an absolute goof. I'm a fool. I'm just chatty and I can talk. But naturally, I am an introvert. Naturally, I don't like social situations, but push yourself into that. And maybe living outside of America for so long has given me the ability that I can do that. And I find it easier to do in other countries. Maybe it's because, you feel like you're in a new place and no one's really judging you, or at least they're taking it easy on you because you're not actually from the culture and they know you're going to fuck it up a little bit. So we're just too hard on ourselves. We're too hard on ourselves in a culture that's hard to live in. And you can't have both, right? You have to be light with yourself. Treat yourself with kind of like a jovial receptiveness to the world, right? Even in hardship, you can still grin and laugh. Some good gallows humor goes a long way. And if there's anything that I learned from the military, is that as hard as it can get, as bad as the suck can be, just laugh it off. Laugh it off. It's actually easier than you think it is. I'm not saying fake your emotions, because we're not sociopaths here. This channel isn't for sociopaths. It's for normal people. But I know that a lot of people out there right now are having a hard time when it comes to feeling lonely. And with the summer winding down, and if you're young, the school year coming back, if you're older, sports season coming back, and your team probably sucks, I understand that. Although the Commanders, they're looking pretty good this year, I think. I don't know. But we don't have to be sad all the time. There's still great things in life. I mean, don't look to the country and politics to be like, oh, this is great. But it's choice to be happy for most people. Mental illness is a thing. Seek help, talk to people, talk to us. You can always DM me on my Instagram. You can always do that. I'm not always quick to it, but hey, we'll just talk about the time that you're having, in the comments below, whatever you have to do. But you're not alone. You're not actually alone. You're alone, but you're not alone. And there's always someone willing to listen. You just have to be receptive to it. Be honest with yourself. But I don't know. Because at the end of the day, you have to love yourself. And it's hard for other people to love you if you don't have some kind of self-acceptance and affinity for yourself. Be happy and be kind to yourself. And don't be too hard on yourself, because the world is hard enough. And learn to love if you don't have that, because you'd be amazed how powerful love can be in fighting the darkest parts of yourself, especially self-love. But hey, we appreciate you guys as always. Honestly, the support that we get from you guys is really nice, and the kind words. This whole channel thing's strange, and I don't mean for it to be doomy and gloomy, but the world is just kind of rough right now, and I guess we're a political channel now. I guess that's what we are, and I'm always interested to hear what you guys have to say. I'm always being told I shouldn't read the comment section, but I definitely do, and I engage with you guys a lot, and I'm pretty sure most of you who have been here for a while know that. I feel like I genuinely know so many of you because I've talked to you so many times. Like, I know what your responses are going to be. I know how you're going to react. There's some of you that I genuinely wait for you to comment because you've been here so long. It's like your friends that I don't talk to, but maybe at some point, if the channel grows enough, we can have a meetup somewhere. I know this winter, we're going to be in South Florida visiting friends for a bit, and there's some people there I definitely want to meet up and maybe get some good food and maybe a drink or two, who knows. But appreciate you guys as always, and I hope you have a solid one. Love yourself, honestly. Take care.